Talking with famous people.
Hi friends, host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People. And I normally avoid watching C.S. Joseph videos because they're kind of grating on me. But at Rachel's suggestion, we watched a solid 5 minutes of one together, and I wanted to go through what he says and explain what I believe it displays for all of us to see clear as day. Now, I didn't cherry pick this. I went and took basically everything he said in the first 5 minutes that was a statement, and I excerpted it out. And just without, there was no editorial attempts on my part.
How do I get motivated as an ISTP? But ESTPs absolutely enjoy making the world better around them because that's their INFJ subconscious. So
I excerpted that in part because it's one of the only actual warrants he makes throughout the whole thing. This is the one of maybe two times in this 5 minutes that he answers a question of why with anything that he says. Note, his why here is that ESTPs, I guess, care about other people because of their INFJ subconscious. I would point out that they share the same conscious functions, and I don't understand, and I doubt he could explain what he means by an INFJ subconscious. After all, a type name like INFJ or ESTP is representative of a cognitive function stack of attentional manners that are habitually used in one way or the other. What does it mean, mechanically, functionally, to have an INFJ subconscious? We know it doesn't have anything to do with unconscious functions because they have the same conscious functions. So I doubt C.S. Joseph has an answer for that or know anything about it, but you'll note he did provide a warrant here, at least. A reason that is unarticulated, that's not expanded on, that doesn't actually explain anything, but he did provide a because meow.
you got to recognize what the ISTP's life purpose is, and that's to become a teacher and to teach many people. So how do you become a teacher? Again, purpose of life, gather as many skills as you can and then teach other people those skills. That is what the purpose of an ISTP actually is.
This one, he provides no warrant whatsoever. So there's no because. This is why what I'm saying is true. The purpose of an ISTP is to be a teacher because these aspects of cognitive functions make it such or something. There's none of that. But beyond that, I would say, note most of all that he's framing his understanding of the ISTP first and foremost and consistently throughout this thing as what? Purpose-driven, teleologically driven, utility-driven. As you'll hear, he continues to talk about how to be useful, more useful, what's useful, etc. to the ISTP. Now, granted, this video is asking is a response to the question, how can the ISTP be more productive? A couple things to note about that. Even if I were answering that question, I'd mostly spend my time explaining why what I said ought to be considered legitimate. I wouldn't be spending my time mostly giving advice. And second of all, even if I were to answer that question, most of my attention would be directed at why is it that you assume that you are not being motivated enough? What do you feel as though you're not motivated enough by? What do you think an adequate amount of motivation would look like? And why do you think you're not motivated? Why do you think you're not motivated enough? That needs to be explored a great deal. It's quite possible the person asking the question, I'm not motivated enough, why am I not motivated enough, is comparing against some inappropriate standard they've internalized from some ill-intentioned or perhaps well-intentioned but misguided other. A lot of people internalize lots of limiting narratives. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the person at all. Maybe he's plenty motivated, but he's comparing himself against the standard of some narcissistic parent. C.S. Joseph doesn't consider those things at all. He's perfectly happy launching into advisory role because he's a TE Dom. That's what he thinks the purpose of everything is to be used for some specific concrete outcome that you can articulate as providing utility.
So a lot of people, have a big problem with that. A lot of people don't understand that. I really have no idea why that's the case, but
well, C.S. Joseph, the reason a lot of people don't understand that or have a problem with you saying that ISTPs, their purpose in life is to be a teacher, is because, first of all, it runs afoul actually of what most people do think of ISTPs, that they are fourth FE, kind of dickish and not particularly interested in helping anybody, frankly. Fourth slot FE doesn't lend itself to wanting to provide FE to others. It lends itself to wanting to receive FE in kind of a babyish fashion. But regardless of that, the other reason why you don't understand why people disagree with you is because you don't listen to their responses. You avoid responses that would cause you to have to question anything that you assume is true to proceed on with this, this advisory, this mishmash of advice and unsubstantiated statements, unwarranted claims, and an overarching relentless purpose frame.
When they do get stubborn in that regard, like it's they don't listen to people, and then they end up doing that ENFJ mistake where they're trying to get everyone else to listen to them, but they won't listen to anyone else. So,
I do agree ISTPs get stubborn, but I don't agree that they make that ENFJ mistake where they're trying to get everyone to listen to them, but they're not listening to anybody else. ISTPs are not talkative. They rarely, if ever, have a circumstance where they think the solution to the problem is to be heard by more people or more of them being heard. There's, as far as I can tell, there's no warrant for what he's saying, and it runs afoul of everything we know about cognitive functions and personality type.
This is why ISTPs need to have two groups of people in their life. They need to have people above them and people basically below them. The people below them is they confer their skills upon. The people above them is the people that they learn their skills from. And this also, I tell them, like, don't concern yourself with like getting educated so much as you focus on actually helping other people, because the more you help people, the more you grow, right?
Okay. I mean, this really sums it up, right? First of all, he says, here's your ideal circumstance, ISTP. You will view others as linked to your utility. You will view others above you as people from whom you can learn, and you will view people below you as people whom you can teach to. And then you will be happy because you will have maximized your utility. But he doesn't give any reason whatsoever why he thinks ISTP fundamentally is driven by the same utility frame that he's driven by. And then he says here, he recommends to STPs and NTPs, they don't spend so much time getting themselves educated, just focus on helping people. That's where growth comes from. In other words, stop using your deliberation function to tell me I'm wrong, and just accept that as long as I am giving advice, I must be helping people. What C.S. Joseph doesn't seem to understand is by projecting his frame onto others, and by cashing in the capital that he has gained from being a YouTube personality, he's potentially doing quite a lot of damage, giving terribly wrong advice to whole swaths of the population. He's telling every ISTP, your purpose is to be a teacher. So now, let's say somebody comes and asks him next time, hey, how can I be more motivated to be a teacher? Because I know that's my purpose and everything. I just don't feel it. What would he do? He'd give him more advice about how to be a teacher. It wouldn't occur to him that maybe I shouldn't be giving advice like, you need to be, your purpose in life is to be a teacher, to every ISTP in the world, as though it were true, without giving any justification for it whatsoever. And then proceed to tell them, don't try to get yourself educated about it. Just try to use what I tell you to help people. Help people means to interface. It does not mean to help people. Interfacing is not necessarily helping people. And no doubt for C.S. Joseph, the solution is, what's causing you problems? A deliberation function, usually TI. God, TI people are always causing me problems. What's the solution? Ignore the TI, focus on the interface, which I'll call helping people, because when I name my TE that, I get less pushback from people.
That they'll have a problem that they don't know how to solve, but you, the ISTP, will be able to solve it, right?
Success is being able to solve a problem other people can't solve. And if you have that opportunity, why? And then you have a chance to really grow and become increasingly solvency oriented. Be able to set more goals and be more useful to people and derive more utility from them. Here I am, I'm a social engineer, which basically tells you all that I view people as cogs in a system that are there to be manipulated according to my judgment regardless of if I actually know enough to make any advice whatsoever or advocate any course of action. TE. TE done with SI. His personal experience is what determines whether or not something's true. He experiences life like this, that if he gets maximized utility, people above and below, has his mentors and stuff, then he's structured things correctly. But he's, even though it's his position on things, and he thinks he's an ENTP, he's still giving the same advice to be like him to an ISTP, which is a totally different type with polar NE. Of course, he has no idea what NE, so it's,
And then over time, your performance will increase. And you just have to want to help other people, and that will increase your performance. You'll gain a lot more skills. And then as a result of that, you'll become a very effective teacher, and you'll be able to teach other people.
Okay, so there you go. That's just the first 5 minutes of the first video we're having a look at. And you can see exactly what I'm telling you. Everything about it says, don't deliberate. Do cause useful interactions with these ideas, regardless of whether they're true, because it doesn't matter, because helping people is interfacing with them. That's what he says. If you think he's an ENTP, if he thinks he's an ENTP, then probably you and he both have NI polar. You have to be ignoring the elephant of a truth standing in front of you, and concurrently ignoring any sort of logical parsing of the thing. If it doesn't matter if it's true or false, as long as you can use it a certain way, then you'll just poo-poo what I'm saying and continue just believing he's an ENTP because it's useful. Of course, it's not. The reality is, any work you do based on that assumption will have to be scrapped because it's false. So it's not just useful, it's wasting everybody's time, it's harmful. But, I'm glad I made this video. I'm glad Rachel encouraged me too, because at least you can see what it looks like if you actually think about things versus what it sounds like if you don't.
Talking with famous people.